Let's talk Clemson and LSU football. Season opener, August 30th, 2025, in Death Valley, Clemson, South Carolina. Number 9, LSU is coming into fierce territory to number 4, Clemson. And things were on the line. Not only was it bragging rights, not only is it winning and breaking the curse of the season opener, but it also was just all the noise will finally be hushed because Tiger versus Tiger, battle of the Tiger, who is going to take it on? Who is going to claw the best? Okay, we're going to get into it. If you don't know who I am Des with Pretty Girls Love Sports, and I got to cover this explosive game that we're going to talk about well into December. So let's just get into it, okay? So stakes were already high coming into the game. I feel like I've heard about this Clemson and LSU game for months before it even got a time, before we even figured out, what was going on LSU side. It was just the talks, the back and forth. Dabo Sweeney has some jokes about Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is just like trying to focus on the main thing. He is trying to focus on the job, okay? Because he know what they be saying about him, right? So just focusing up, players are talking, it's just getting it riled up. It's national stage too, because everybody, all eyes were on Clemson and LSU, right? Coming in. So after you get the polls, Clemson is ranked before LSU, rightfully so. But naturally, when you think about it, you're thinking, okay, well, LSU is just known for being a really, really good team, maybe even the better team. Like when you think about it, like maybe LSU should be the better team, but then you think about it again, you're like, well, no, Clemson is also a really good team and they've had great success. So, it was kind of like one of those up in the air things. But in retrospect, most people look at it and they think, well, LSU should be the one that's at the forefront here. But in this case, like I said, Clemson is ranked or was ranked before LSU. So it's kind of like, well, now Clemson is the top dog here coming in. So if anything, LSU would upset Clemson because they're coming in as number 9. Okay, so this is a top 10 showdown, smackdown, Saturday Night Lights. You name it. Okay, and if you know, games underneath the lights in Death Valley, probably both of them, but I can only speak for Clemson. It's just a different type of vibe. It's a different type of atmosphere. It's a different type of beast, And then when you have 8,000 people cheering to the top of their lungs and they're all there, backing up their Tigers, it is something totally different and special. You can hear the roar probably all the way down the highway of 85. So coming in, the game was definitely just high stakes. The fans started to tailgate at 8 a.m. Okay, so they were out there getting it, out there preparing, prepping. I've seen barbecues, photographers, mini buses, TV setup. It looked like they were in a lounge. It's a thing. Okay. So coming in, you would think that it would be a battle of the quarterbacks. Like I said, you got 2 Heisman front runners. And you're just thinking that they're just going to do it because before the game started, they're showing both of their stats. They're talking about it in depth, like, okay, well, Cade Klubnik is good for this and da da da, and what they got going on at LSU. So it was just really like a domination of quarterback, but it actually ended up being a domination of defense. The defense in the trenches, as you guys know, the trenches tend to win you the game. So the trenches really came down to it. Starting off, LSU is up first. And you can imagine 80, no. I'm gonna say about 79,000. Maybe I'm gonna give LSU fans 1,000. If that. I don't even think it was that. But I'm gonna give them 1,000, right? So you got 79,000 people roaring and cheering and going crazy. And now this is the beginning of the game, so they're already amped up. They've been tailgating since 8 a.m. They already litty. They get alcohol now at the stadium, so they own one. Okay, they own another one, and it's the home opener. So this is not the game that you show up and be your most rowdiest. Like, I don't know which one it is. And they delivered. I have to give the crowd that. They delivered from top to bottom to the finish, to the very last, play. They were there, right? So boom, LSU come out. They looking a little. They looking a little. The noise getting to them. They fall starting. They were looking a little sloppy, right, and a little undisciplined at first, and rightfully so. Like I said, just the environment. They don't get a preseason, so this is not a preseason game. This is not a, oh, we get a chance to get some reps in. We get a chance to knock some of the rust off. Like they just have practice. And then boom, game. Hello, Clemson strikes first to put 3 points on the board. So yeah, that's exciting, but it's not as exciting as a touchdown. And then okay, boom, boom, LSU fights back, and then they finally get 3 points on the board. But it took a lot of back and forth, back and forth. And good football sometimes is boring football. You'll hear commentators say it all the time. Or you'll hear people that talk about the game, like good football sometimes is a little bit boring, because in order for you to get interceptions and pick sixes or scoop and scores or punt returns, at some point somewhere somebody has to make a mistake for that to happen, for that exciting play to happen. So if you're not making a lot of mistakes necessarily, but your defense is just like meeting them where they at, then at that point it's like, okay, oh God, it's going back and forth, right? So going back and forth, boom, boom, boom. Then it was like, okay, starting to get live, right? Touchdown, right? Clemson touchdown, right? Boom. Okay. Now we talking. Now we in business. All right. Then you think LSU marches down the field right before halftime. And you would think on 4th and 2, you would kick a field goal to get your points up to 6. Right? Don't go into halftime, just leaving points on the board, right? But no. They're going to go for it. Don't convert. Right? So boom. You didn't do what you're supposed to do. All right, okay, cool. We come back after halftime, they do their little thing. What I personally like, though, is the fact that I feel like LSU came out and defensively still very, very good. Very, very good. I feel like the offense started to pick up the pace a little bit. I feel like they started to get a little bit more comfortable. They started to understand, okay, this is our scheme. They started to really believe that although they were behind, they could really make some shake. And the only reason why I also say this is because Clemson went scoreless the second half. LSU put on their 14 points in the second half, 7 in the third, 7 in the fourth. So they started to get comfortable. They started to really fall into that identity. Their quarterback really started to make plays happen and really get to see the art of what he does. But if we're looking at the stats, so we're going to talk about quarterback stats right now. Cade Klubnik, number 2 for Clemson, right? He was 19 of 38. Not really the best. He went for 230 yards, and he had 0 TDs, 1 interception. On the flip side of that, Mr. Garrett, Mr. Garrett of LSU was 28 for 38, okay, for 230 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, right? So you're looking at it like, okay, they went the same, they threw for the same amount of yards, but one was just simply better than the other. All right. Another person that really took fire straight away for me that I saw was Caden Durham, number 29 for LSU. He had 17 carries, 74 yards, 1 touchdown. His longest was 24 yards. From the very beginning, I was like, that's going to be the man right there. That's going to be the man right there. And he is going to make one hell of a difference when it comes to what LSU does and how they're going to be successful in the future, especially in conference play. They're really going to need to have him highlighted. They're also going to need Xavier Thomas, number 0. He actually threw a pass in the game. One of their plays, I thought that was okay. He was 1 for 1, 16 yards. But for it to be as fierce competitively on the defense. LSU really showed some sparks on that offense when they got the moments to do so. What really hurt them, though, is, in my opinion, is the penalties. I felt like the penalties just was like, come on. Just come on, y'all. Like, get it together. They have a good core over there for sure. Johnson, really good. I feel like with some tweaks they can really do what they need to do. Aaron Anderson, number one for is their top receiver. He had 6 receptions, 99 yards. His longest was 39. But statistically, LSU has been known to have a good receiver core, has been known to be the top dogs for receivers. And I think that shows tonight too. You had Jujuwan Johnson, number 8, 5 receptions, 31 yards. Longest was 9 yards. You had Berrien Brown, number 6, 5 receptions, 25 yards. Longest was 14 yards. Caden Durham, again, he was a receiver, so 3 receptions, 22 yards. The longest was 10. You had Xavier Thomas, number 0, 1 reception, 19 yards. His longest was obviously the 19 yards. You had Sharp, number 10, 5 receptions, 18 yards. Longest was 8 yards. You had Trey'dez Green, number 14, 2 receptions, 17, 1 touchdown. Longest was 9 yards. And then you had Kyle Parker, number 12, 1 reception, 16 yards. Obviously, the longest was 16. Green, like I said, caught the perfect pass in the end zone to get that touchdown to really just like spark it up. At that point, the little bit of fans that Clemson allowed LSU to have in their stadium kind of went off. I love the fact that you could then start to hear them. The band started to get really into it, like really started to spark up. And I think that's important too. When the fans on your side and your people are there and they're cheering for you and they're rooting for you and they're fighting through the 79,000 people, I think that makes a huge difference because it gives you some energy. It gives you some confidence. It gives you that, they're behind me. The fans make a huge difference, right? And then on Clemson's side, on the upside, they were like, they were quiet and then they just weren't having it. I think they booed for like 3 minutes straight. Like they weren't having it. And then, there was a alleged missed call for pass interference and they were like not having, they were booing. And then it was the most questionable call about if the receiver caught the ball or not. It had a touchdown and then they overturned it. So it was incomplete. Whoa, it was just a thing. That play right there, I feel like that play is going to be one of the plays that they talk about in terms of officiating for the rest of the college football season this year. They're not going to let it go. Kind of like last year when I believe the Gamecocks had a call that didn't get called against LSU, and that just went on all season. They even said that's the reason why they didn't get into the playoff. It was just a thing. It was such a thing. Like that one call can make a huge difference in the game. For LSU, fortunately, it did not. For Clemson, unfortunately for them, it worked at the moment, but it didn't fully work in their favor because LSU came back to win the game. But yeah, I feel like that's just going to be something that's just going to constantly be talked about. It already was blowing up all over Twitter. So that's the thing. On Clemson's side of the ball, really quick though, before I get off of here, I do want to highlight Adam Randall, number 8, definitely going to be somebody that helps to carry this team. When it comes to rushing yards, he had 5 carries, 16 yards, 1 touchdown, longest was 7 yards. I also think that Bryant Wesco Jr., obviously really rising star, stand out from last season, going to be coming in, going to be super duper important as well to help this team. TJ Moore, number 1, both of them have 4 receptions. Wesco Jr. had 66 yards and Moore had 55 yards. And then Tyler Brown, 4 receptions, 43 yards. They have a lot of weapons. Again, both sides had weapons offensively, but it was the defensive players that got the job done at the end of the day, really being able to hold out. Really good. Again, I think both teams are going to have successful seasons this year, and I can't wait to see when they both probably get into the playoffs. So that's just my 2 bits on it. I know I've been yapping long enough, so I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. If you like this content, please make sure you are subscribing on YouTube. Press your bell notifications so that way you know when I'm doing my live shows and when I drop new videos. And you can follow me on all social media platforms at PG Love Sports, or you can just type it in at Pretty Girls Love Sports. And I'm Des. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching me, and I will see you guys on the next game day. Bye. Baby girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Baby girl.